To the $2 super chat, will you bring back the suggestion box? If we ever have a podcast day where there's literally nothing to talk about at all, and we have extra time, we could do it. But that really hasn't happened in ages, right? We have situations where usually there's something to talk about, whether it's a story going on, a news story, or something happened on a stream that we want to discuss, or there's a particular topic or something. I literally have the suggestion box open right here.
So this probably isn't a spoiler because I put it in the title, but we're going to do the suggestion box, which just kind of figures, honestly, because I was asked just this last weekend during my streams. Big shout out to everybody who showed up. But I was just asked during my streams this weekend when I think the suggestion box was going to come back, and I guessed 2 months from then. So of course, the very next day after I was asked, he goes ahead and does a little bit of it. If I didn't know any better and my ego was a bit larger than it is, I'd think that he did it just to spite me. But this guy has been dodging the suggestion box for quite a few months in a row now. He says it's because he doesn't have any time on his level 1 pre-stream because he's so busy talking about all of these other super important things, obviously. But I can very vividly recall that after the King Be Cruel debacle, when he did his fake apology, he immediately followed it up with, I actually don't have anything to talk about today. So why didn't we do the suggestion box then, DSP? I think if DSP actually gave a shit about his pre-stream, he would have some sort of structure to it. Could you imagine a level 1 pre-stream that's actually structured, where you could guarantee every single day you were going to get at least a little bit of the DSPN segment, and you could get a little bit of the suggestions right at the end, at least a couple? I mean, he could have overlays and animations and all sorts of special shit for it. But this is DSP we're talking about, and all of that would require time, effort, and planning, and DSP's not interested in doing any of that because none of that is going to directly lead to more cash in his bank account. So just like all of the games that DSP doesn't actually want to play, the suggestion box suffered the same fate and got sent to the back burner. But lucky for us, we get a brief little glimpse of it today, and I'm so happy that we did.
Here was the latest one. What did I click on? Oh, I clicked on the wrong thing.
And before he starts actually reading the most recent suggestion, for all my audio style listeners, there was a brief pause there of almost complete silence where DSP was pre-reading the suggestion. And that's going to be made pretty obvious almost as soon as he starts in, because he's going to be reading the suggestion as fast as he possibly can. Because in typical DSP fashion, if he doesn't like something, he tries to just power his way through it and give it the least amount of time and attention as possible.
Here, for a variety streamer, you don't seem like you don't like a variety of games. Maybe there are exceptions. It seems like you only touch indie games when they break into the mainstream, like Hades. That means a huge swath of quality, affordable games of varying genres that never get exposure on your channel. Sea of Stars would have made for a nice late-night playthrough instead of Chrono Trigger, for example. As for new releases, be more selective. Your schedule becomes a mess when there are multiple AAA releases, and frankly, many of them are boring to watch, like the Ubisofts, the Horizon Zero Wests, the kind of stuff watching paint dry no matter who's holding the controller.
And in my opinion, all of that is pretty accurate and fair feedback and criticism. So let's see how the guy responds.
Literally, we've already addressed this. Whenever I play an indie game on my channel, no one watches it. Unless it's an indie game that's broken into the mainstream and got mainstream attention, and then people care more about it. When I go out of my way to try to play an indie game, no one cares. It's because that's the audience I have. You have to understand that. I have to cater to what my audience wants. I don't have an audience that's foaming at the mouth for indie games, nor do I have a giant mainstream audience that eats up anything that I play. I have to be more selective with what I do with my time, right? Your other point, play less AAA games. I have. Just in the last month, not playing Persona 3, not playing Grand Blue, not playing Suicide Squad, not playing Foam Stars. I mean, that's just 4 off the top of my head in the last 2 weeks I didn't play.
Yes, DSP, you aren't playing those games, I'll give you that. But I think that came more down to a lack of time than it did a lack of interest on your behalf. And when I say lack of interest, I don't actually mean interest in playing the game to have fun and enjoy it. I, of course, mean lack of interest in playing the game for his audience so that he can make money. Because I think that if he could, he absolutely would have played all of those games. If he could have fit it into his schedule and he knew that the dents were gonna pay him money for it, absolutely he would have found a way to do it. But most of those are lengthy RPGs that DSP knows knows his audience was not going to keep interest in and pay him to continue to play. And then the other one is like Suicide Squad, which I hear is a bad game. So nobody's going to sit here and give you ass pats, DSP, simply because you decided to not play these games this month. This is one of the few rare times that DSP is actively deciding not to play these big AAA titles that are being released, and it's not because he doesn't want to, but only because it actually doesn't make sense time-wise. But when it comes to playing indie games, DSP, I think if you showed more care and attention to indie games and a larger interest vested in them, people in your audience might actually care about them more as well. But because you constantly blow off indie titles simply because you think they're lesser games because their budget isn't nearly as big or the scale of the game isn't nearly as big, your audience doesn't care either. But of course, he's running a business, dude. He doesn't get any say in the games that he plays. He can only do what's best for his business, and what's best for his business is playing what the dents tell him to play, obviously, because that's how all of the other highly respected and renowned streamers treat their streams and content. They just do whatever other people say because that's their business. Sound good? Sounds good to me. And by the way, you know Cat agrees.
I'm trying to focus on what I am playing, and already there's too much going on. So here's the thing. People get these notions, but they're based on their own personal desires and preferences. This person probably had an indie game they really wanted to see me play, and I never played it. Like they're saying, Sea of Stars. I did play Sea of Stars. And guess what? Not a lot of people showed up for it nor supported it when I played it, because it's an indie game. This is what I said. Like, people ask for indie games all the time. Then when I actually play them, nobody cares. That's just what happens. That's just, it's been a pattern, a running pattern. Another game franchises like that, Metroidvanias. Most of the time, people say, oh, why don't you play this one and that one? Then I play one, no one cares. The exception to that was Metroid Dread, but outside of that, every time I play a Metroidvania, no one shows up. So I got to do with what works. You know, I have to, I'm streaming for myself because I like games and it's my hobby, but it's also my job. I have to stream what people will show up for, and I can't just pick and choose. If it were the case, I could just play whatever I wanted. I'd play more RPGs. I would play more indie games, right? I'd probably play less mainstream games. You're absolutely right. But then also, I'd have no audience. You know, I got to find that balance. Right, Jasper Kitty? Right, Jasper? Jasper Kitty, tell them what, that do you agree with me or disagree? Tell the audience what you think. Jasper, why won't you talk? Jasper, he won't talk. He talks to me all day long outside of this office. And then he gets right here and he won't say a word. Why not? Why won't you talk?
As a cat style enjoyer myself, it does pay me to say this, but I cannot stand Jasper segments. They are just the cringiest things on the planet. And thanks DSP for letting your cat rub into the microphone several times so that all of us could hear it. It sounded great and everyone appreciates it. But I do think it's funny that DSP was going to tell Jasper to tell people that he agrees with him. Not to ask his opinion. Oh, do you agree with me or not agree with me? No, he was about to say, tell them you agree with me. I wonder how often he does that to the other cat that lives in his house. But back on track, sorry, we got derailed with the Jasper segment. DSP is one of the only content creators that I'm currently aware of that plays video games for a living day in and day out on his streams, and his audience straight up just does not care what he wants to play according to him. Everybody else who seems to be playing games on these streaming sites can play pretty much anything that they want, and their audience is going to show up and be engaged in the game or the content creator themselves. But apparently when it comes to DSP, the dents don't care. If you're not playing the game that they specifically want to see, they're not going to show up and they're not going to show out. I wonder why that is. I mean, I know why that is. It's because DSP is not an entertaining person. He's not somebody that you show up because you like them and you like their personality. Some of these dents really do only show up for the gameplay for some reason, which is astounding to me, being how bad the gameplay actually is. It's just so insane to me because there's content creators that I enjoy personally, and when they decide to do off-the-wall content that's not related to the normal thing that they do, I'm twice as interested in that new style of content just to see what they're doing. Shout out all the Tevin Walmart streams and the lawn cutting segments. Those go hard. But I just couldn't imagine being tied down to doing content online that I don't want to do, that I'm not actually interested in, not being able to play the games that I want to play. If you told me I had to sit here and make content about Elon Musk all day, I'd just quit making these videos because that's not what I'm interested in. But of course, DSP's only showing up for money. He doesn't actually care about the content. He's made that very clear.
Okay. Anyway, so there you go. We did suggestion box. Here's another one. I wish you'd relax more when playing Street Fighter. It's one thing to be frustrated. You literally call people assholes and pieces of shit. And yes, I publicly acknowledged that and said I agree with you that I needed to calm more down. And basically, by the end, that was kind of something that I committed to. But then I stopped playing Street Fighter. Now with Tekken, I can't even really say because I just lose constantly in Tekken to lack of character knowledge. So that's not people abusing it or sucking. That's me not knowing shit and just falling for stuff. You know what I mean?
But when did he commit to not acting like a toxic asshole when it came to Street Fighter 6? I mean, I know he made that New Year's resolution where he said he wasn't going to, but he never committed to it because the very next stream he was again acting like a toxic asshole. He definitely didn't make it to the last Street Fighter stream without being toxic. There's no way. I seen the streams, dog. We were there. I'm often convinced that DSP lives in his own reality, and this is one of those times because what reality does he have to live in that he thinks that he was genuinely not being toxic when playing Street Fighter 6? I mean, the only two options here really is that he's delusional or he's straight lying to people's faces. And both are kind of on brand.
Here we go. Leave the internet and reevaluate your life.
That's probably the best suggestion DSP's ever actually got out of the suggestion box. Big ups for that suggestion, whoever that was. I guess not all heroes wear capes. Some of them are posting in DSP's suggestion box.
That's a great suggestion. Thanks a lot. Let me leave the internet and reevaluate my life and go out of business and lose my house and everything that I own and the livelihood of my family. That's, you know, that's a really nice pipe dream for people to think that people could just quit their jobs and everything's fine. Yes, because as you know, I have several years worth of income saved up that I could just quit my job and reevaluate my life. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
I mean, if you really wanted to do it though, DSP, you could start looking for a job. You could go and get a part-time job and then quit the internet and reevaluate your life and decide whether or not this is something that you still want to continue to do. But we all know that you're not interested in doing that. You're not actually interested in bettering your life in any aspect at all. You love sitting here and complaining. You love constantly crying broke online. It's your favorite thing to do. You love being this weird master of dents on your screen where you pull all of the strings and have the ultimate authority. That's one of the reasons why I think it would be a great idea if you stepped away and reevaluated your life, though. Obviously, that was a bait suggestion, but hey, I think it was a good one nonetheless.
People love chatting. We all have something to say. You're an interactive content curator. This is the new Phil. A new release brings people a 24-hour cooldown. The talk is too much. It needs to go down to 1 hour, 20 minutes. Huh? It's enough people can see what the streaming community is about and can start to interact with all of us. I have no idea what this means.
Huh? What? I don't know what this means. What are you talking about? It's not that complicated, DSP. I really don't see how you're confused already. He's saying that you're an interactive content curator, a word that you love to use, and when new releases come out, something that you try and get the day one views off of, 24-hour sub-only chat doesn't make any sense because people coming to check out the new game cannot talk in your chat, which means that they probably just wind up going somewhere else where they might be noticed by the streamer, where they might be able to actually engage with the other people that are watching the stream. You know, the entire point of being on a stream. And I know that I said the last suggestion was good, but that's because I'm a tractor, right? If I was a genuine fan of DSP, I do think that this is actually a good suggestion. And if he's not willing to commit fully to a 1 hour sub-only mode for new releases of big games that are going to be getting day one views, he could definitely change it for the day so that these people might have a chance of actually engaging in the chat. It's small things like this that DSP really should be taking into consideration or finding compromises for that would actually make his streams that much better. But we're talking to a guy who shows up 20 minutes late to his own stream every single day. So I highly doubt that he's actually interested in making his content any more watchable or enjoyable for anybody else.
You need a professional stream overlay. Start 2024 fresh. One with chat incorporated for us to watch in full screen so we can read chat. No, we're never doing that because that would just be people trolling to ruin the videos perpetually. That's also why I don't have pop-up messages that have text on them, because if I did, people would just say nasty things to be in the video forever. It's a competition to ruin my content. I know there's a reason why I don't do it. What's funny is people are like, Phil doesn't do it because he's lazy. No, Phil doesn't do it because he's smart, because he's not stupid, because he wants to make a living doing this and he doesn't want all his content ruined by trolls to have dumb shit on my screen like other content creators do. I'm not stupid. All right, so no, we're not having chat on the screen. Like, there's not enough distractions with the pop-ups. Now you want a running chat on the screen? Like, that's totally not going to distract people watching the game, right? Like, what are you talking about?
But don't you have filters, DSP? Don't you have mods that are supposed to be taking care of these things? They provided a really good reason why you might want to actually add the chat to your screen so that people could watch in full screen mode and still see the chat. And I want to note that this is the second time that this person has recommended something relating to the chat. Again, the entire point of being an online streamer. Because if you're not interested in the chat, if you're not interested in giving your community, the people who like your content, a place where they can talk and interact with the content, you might as well just make pre-recorded videos. I know that he's terrified to death that these trolls are going to come in his chat and say something that he doesn't like or send a super chat with a message that he doesn't want anybody to see, but he is making his own content worse because of his fear. Worse for his genuine fans, might I add. Not worse for the detractors, because we're going to do the same things that we always do. It's his fans that are losing out. And he brings up the fact that the chat is going to be distracting to the gameplay. Who is this going to be distracting for, DSP? You're the only person I've ever seen be incapable of focusing on gameplay when there was chat on the screen. If you're not interested in certain elements that are on screen during a stream, if you just don't pay attention to them for all of 15 seconds, eventually your mind and your eyes just tend to ignore them. So if you're not interested in the chat being on screen, if you just don't look at it, it's pretty much not even there. Especially if you do it in such a way that it is as unobtrusive as possible. Maybe DSP is just more aware of the mental capacity that his fans are capable of than I am, though. But I always have my chat on the stream and haven't had anybody once tell me that they were distracted by it and that they couldn't focus on what was actually going on.
Okay, so there you go. We did some suggestion box. Wasn't that great? Wow, it was really worth it. Anyway, let's get back to the stream now. That was really worth the time.
So because none of the suggestions were necessarily something that DSP wanted to hear, they were actually, suggestions that would benefit the stream, he wasn't interested in hearing them and hated the entire thing and acted like a dickhead the whole time. But my favorite part to this whole segment is not actually included in this clip because it came just a few minutes after. So I went ahead and went out of my way to grab that for you because I just loved it.
672 says, before Q&A, how about we read off 3 questions from the box that took you 6 minutes, not much time to hear suggestions from fans. Yes, but you realize, like, you can just suggest things now during the Q&A, right? Rather than me reference a thread that I posted up in September of last year and never got to. Anyway, I received a $5 tip.
So yeah, I'd venture to say that the suggestion box is pretty much all but dead. He's very clearly not interested in doing it anymore because he knows that he's only gonna get actual suggestions and real criticism in the suggestion box, where if they do it live instead during Q&A, the dents are just gonna suck him off. And that's all he really ever wanted. He just wanted really stupid suggestions that he could instantly shoot down with the most dented logic possible because he enjoys doing that. He loves just shooting down other people and acting like everybody is stupid but him. But some of the suggestions in the suggestion box are clearly a higher IQ than he's capable of comprehending, so he's uncomfortable and upset. But that makes me wonder, what was the whole point of the suggestion box anyway if this was gonna be the end result? If we were just gonna get rid of the suggestion box because it was getting too old, the thread was simply too long ago, then you would think we would have gone back more often. We'd have done the suggestion box more frequently than we did. As it stands now, I can't think of a single suggestion that he actually walked away with a positive attitude on. It kind of seemed like a huge waste of time. There was not a single benefit to the stream having done the suggestion box as far as a genuine fan is concerned. As detractors, we got plenty of laughs, but his poor attitude to improving his stream ruined the entire concept. But that's the end of the suggestion box. But I'm sure you're aware I typically don't do videos this short, so we're gonna go ahead and do a double feature today. Big ups Doody for the second clip in this one. I really appreciate it.
Is going to be Tekken 8 multiplayer, and I'm going to be honest with everybody. Yeah, I was so beat yesterday after doing all of that work that I had no desire whatsoever to now start watching YouTube videos of Tekken to learn a new character. It's like, dude, I was in this office from 10:30 a.m. till basically 10:30 p.m. with a half an hour break to eat dinner. I was completely exhausted. I'm not going to start studying Tekken now, all right?
So this was recorded on the level 1 Monday pre-stream. So the day that he's talking about, his 12-hour day where he worked his ass off and felt absolutely exhausted, was full of reacting to other people's content. And let me remind you that his reacting style is some of the laziest content I've ever seen. It's really nothing but goat laughs and observational takes. Yes, DSP, the color red is very big, whatever the hell that was supposed to mean. But if you were interested in seeing me and my friend react to the ReACK, there's a link in the description and a pop-up right now on the top right. So yes, after all of the nothing that he did all Sunday long, he couldn't be bothered to watch one more YouTube video so that he could learn a new character in Tekken for his stream on Monday. The epitome of lazy. And I'm not quite sure why he has to watch videos before playing a character. DSP, why don't you play characters raw? Why don't you experience what your first time playing with them is like, just based off of instinct and prior knowledge? Then you can come back to the next stream after watching a couple videos and see how much more you've improved since you understand the very basics having played the character. Are you scared of being bad at a video game? Because I hate to break it to you, you might want to just quit playing video games then, dog, because I've never seen you be good at one.
So no, we're not doing a new character today. It wasn't possible, all right? What we're going to do today is variety. I'm going to go back to using Paul for a bit, probably play with him for about an hour, probably then switch to King, play with him for about an hour, and then probably go to June. So it's going to be like all three of the characters who I've used so far in the game in like a medley of multiplayer today on the first stream. Okay? So I hope you guys will stick around and join me for that. Sorry if you wanted to see a new character. There's only so much I can do. The thing is, it's weird because I can definitely tell you this. There is way less of a demand for me to play Tekken 8 than there was Street Fighter 6. When I was playing Street Fighter 6, people were going bonkers. They wanted to see it every day. They were coming out in droves to watch. It's not like that with Tekken 8. And it's weird. I don't know if it's because people only think about Street Fighter when they think about Darkside Phil. I like Tekken 8 a lot. I want to keep playing it and learning it and getting better at it. But it's not seeing a fraction of the attention that Street Fighter 6 got.
I have a sneaking suspicion though, DSP, that the reason it's not getting the same amount of viewers, the same amount of eyes on the content, is because you care about Tekken 8 far less than you cared about Tekken 6. And because you cared so much more, the losses were so much sweeter. The salt was so much richer. You seem to take every loss in Street Fighter 6 personally. And you can sit here and say that people were clamoring for the game and they wanted to see it every single day and they supported it, but like, who was it really? It was Game Trekker who was hand-holding you through the entire thing with his daily $25 tip that would teach you a new combo or tell you something that you couldn't figure out by yourself because you're too stupid. I really think that's the only reason DSP had as much fun with Street Fighter 6 as he did. It had nothing to do with his actual enjoyment of the game and everything to do with the amount of money that he made for so long off of it.
So it's weird because it's a hot new fighting game. You would think people are demanding it. No, actually people are saying more Baldur's Gate, more Like a Dragon. We want to see Pal World. Oh, if you could squeeze in Tekken, that's good. And I'm like, wow. Because you have to understand something with a competitive fighting game. You can't just casually play it and get better. You cannot play Tekken 1 to 2 times a week and get better at it. It's not possible.
But DSP is absolutely wrong here. If you play any game twice a week, you're gradually going to get better just over time. It's not going to be very quick. It's not going to be rapid learning all of the time. And you're definitely not going to be playing in the upper echelon of players. But you will be getting better. You will be learning new things, especially if you set out to get better. DSP's just got this toxic ass mindset when it comes to fighting games. But I'm not surprised that people want you to finish the games that you already started before Tekken 8 came out, games that have stories that people might actually already be invested in. Or in the case of Pal World, a game that is completely unique and pretty much hasn't been done like that before. So again, not surprised that they don't want to see Tekken 8 as much as they might want to see these other games. Because at the end of the day, you can just pick up Tekken whenever down the road. You don't have to play it day one and play it consistently every single week up until you just quit playing it. If 3 months down the road you wanted to start playing Tekken 8 again, you absolutely could. Of course, that's absolutely not going to happen. DSP doesn't enjoy any game enough that he would ruin his schedule like that, you know, to continue to play a game that he enjoys.
A fighting game like this, especially in its early stages, you have to be playing it a bunch. You have to be staying on top of the strategies people are using with each character. You eventually have to get used to what the meta of the game is going to be, which basically means once the top tier strategies are developed for each character, you need to recognize them and learn how to counter them. If you're playing twice a week, you'll never do that. If you're playing twice a week, you're barely maintaining muscle memory to even do basic combos with each character. Like, for example, I got to remember the combo I was doing with Paul. I think before we start today, I have to go into training mode and just practice a couple quick things to make sure that I remember what I was doing with Paul, because it's been a week and a half since I used it.
And DSP, I just have to disagree here because I bought Tekken 8 on day one. I played for 2 hours and I refunded the game because I didn't actually want to spend that much money. And I can tell you that if I rebought Tekken 8 right now, that I could get into a game and be hitting the exact same combos that I was hitting with my character on day one. Were they super advanced and complicated moves? No, but I've seen DSP play. Nothing he's doing is all that complicated either. He's just got the Jin brain. And I hate the way he pronounces meta, obviously. The extra emphasis on the T is incredibly cringe. And you absolutely do not have to understand the meta of the game. You won't be playing again at those upper echelons where people do understand the meta, but you will be having fun playing the game regardless in the rank that you get put in, not understanding. Again, it's this toxic elitist fighting game mentality that he comes with. He can't just enjoy games, and he doesn't think that anybody else can just enjoy a competitive fighting game without being competitive about it. Sometimes it's fun to just get online and fight another person on the other side of the country without understanding all of the nuances of the game engine and all of the characters.
You know, that's how it is with fighting games. So yeah, like I feel like if I'm gonna get better at Tekken, I need to play it more. But right now the demand is elsewhere. People aren't actually demanding to see me play Tekken that much, which is weird. You would think they would, and it's just I'm not seeing it. You know, which is okay, I guess. I'm okay with playing Tekken a little less and balancing it with the other stuff. But I mean, prime example here is I played it Friday night, and then here we are all weekend doing other stuff, and now I'm finally playing it today, right? And you would think, oh, that's going to bring a lot of people to the stream. No. This is actually a slower podcast today than what we did yesterday. Yeah. There's less people here. When I played it Friday night, it was actually not that great of a stream when it comes to, like, attendance or even support.
And that's what he really cares about. Don't get fooled into thinking that he actually cares how many people are on his stream. It's all about how much support he's receiving. It's all about the money coming in, obviously. When he says that he's not seeing the demand, he's not seeing people asking for him to play Tekken 8, it just means that he isn't receiving the amount of support that he expects to be receiving, so he thinks that people just don't care about the game.
Like, and it's weird because Tekken's good. Listen, Tekken is a great franchise. I'm not great at it. You know, I'm learning. I'm trying to learn and get better. I think Tekken is outstanding, and I really think Tekken 8 is a great game. It looks like they did a really good job on it. But I don't know how that translates to attention on my streams. You know what I mean? I just don't. I don't know how to get people excited for this game. It's certainly not Street Fighter, where I have this insane track record of playing it. I'm a former pro player. People either want to see me succeed or fail. In Tekken, it's kind of like, it doesn't matter if Phil succeeds or fails because it's Tekken. He's not known for that, right? So I kind of get that. But at the same time, I like it, you know, and I want to keep playing it. And I hope that you guys will keep coming back and hanging out with me when I play it. But it just seems like there's not going to be that much interest compared to Street Fighter. And that's a little disappointing, I would say.
Yeah, I bet it's extra disappointing being that you bought an entire extra fight stick so that you could play all of these fighting games on PS5, and then you wound up hating Mortal Kombat 1, and then people aren't supporting for Tekken 8. So really the only reason you bought that fight stick was to continue playing Street Fighter 6 that you were already playing on the Xbox One with a different fight stick. Clearly a sound business investment from the man with the business degree. I just don't know how he doesn't get tired of doing this same script every single time with a video game, because it really doesn't matter how much money he makes off of it. Eventually the money slows down and he does the same exact thing. He gets on stream and talks about how support was low and people aren't showing up and he's disappointed and things are tight and he's got 2 big bills. It's just a never-ending cycle, and I don't know how DSP can continue to do it every single day. You'd think you'd just grow tired of it, that you'd want to do something new. But oh no, not DSP.
I do like this game a lot. I like this way more than Mortal Kombat 1. Mortal Kombat 1, I didn't want to play it within a week. I was bored. This game, I wish I could play more of it. I would have liked to be playing a new character today. I just didn't have time to get around to it. You know what I mean? So, excited for today. 3 characters I'll be juggling. I don't know how I'm going to do. Here's the thing. In Tekken, the ranking system is cumulative, and it's like across all characters. So, when I play with Paul today, I'm likely going to be fighting like way higher comp. And I don't know how it's going to work because I haven't really fought high-level comp. It was only day 1 that I played with Paul. So I don't know who I'm going to be facing. I don't know if they're going to know how to face Paul. I don't even know, like, fast moves with Paul. I don't think Paul has many fast moves. So that might be his downfall. Like, he does huge damage output, but you have to land a hit to get the huge damage output, and it's tricky against these characters that are just so much faster, right? You know, that's the problem I was having with King, is that these characters that just had really quick jabs and kicks, I couldn't hang with them because he's a slower character. So maybe that's going to be the problem with Paul, too. I don't know. I guess we'll see. But let's have a good time with it today, all right? I hope you guys will stick around after the podcast for Tekken 8 multiplayer for 3 hours, all right? Cool.
So I actually watched some of the Tekken 8 stream that he was talking about here. I know, a rare time that I watched gameplay. And every time I popped in, it was him complaining about how somebody else was just spamming moves, didn't know what they were doing, and then calling them an idiot. So obviously a very robust and meaningful stream. I'd give it a 10 out of 10. And that's how I hope you feel about this video now that it's over. A 10 out of 10. Of course, another big shout out to Doody Streams for both the clips in this one. I appreciate it. Shout out to everybody who watched the video, especially if you made it this far, and a special big ups to all of my members. You guys rock. I love you. But hopefully I'll catch all of you guys in the next video, but until then, make sure that you check out other detractor content and dive deeper into that. Snortex.